Thank you, everyone, and welcome back to the Discover Canada Auditorium in the In-TAC 6th National Virtual Career Expo. And we were just joined by the City of Hamilton, and now we're really pleased to have the City of Ottawa join us. And once again, I mean, we're here, we're in Ottawa. In-TAC is headquartered in Ottawa, and well, why not have the representative from the City of Ottawa join us in person? It really makes a lot of sense. So I'd like to welcome Matthew Easton from the City of Ottawa. Welcome, Matthew.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Great. So before we pass it off to Matthew, we'd just like to remind you what to expect in the next hour or so from Matthew Easton of the City of Ottawa. Matthew will, run through a great presentation as to why Ottawa is a great place to work, study, play, invest, do business, and we'll really look forward to his presentation. And please start sending in your questions at around the half-hour point, because then we can have a Q&A period with Matthew, and you can send in your questions to us live here at the studio, and Matthew will be able, to the best of his abilities, ask your questions, and that'll take us about 45, 50 minutes or so. So thank you, everyone, for joining us, and Matthew, take it away.
Thanks very much, Jay. And to Jay's point, if there are any questions that I can't answer here with you today in person, always happy to follow up again via email. So as Jay mentioned, I wanted to chat with you a little bit about Ottawa, why we think Ottawa is great. I was born in Montreal, but chose to make Ottawa my home. I fell in love with the city when I was here for university. A lot of really neat things happening. So let's jump right into it. So just a quick word about me. I've been with the City of Ottawa for 10 years. Originally started working on our light rail transit project, first phase, which should be opening in the next several months. And I've been with our economic development department for just over 4 years now. And my responsibilities are primarily around fostering innovation in the city in terms of how we deliver services, partnering with local technology companies, as well as some community relations work. So why Ottawa? It's a great question. You can choose Ottawa from the perspective of a lifestyle choice, a work and study choice, a business. I think there's a lot of different opportunities. And in terms of what you can expect to see here with us today, and I'll get right into it. So a quick word about our geography. Ottawa is our nation's capital. It's also our fourth largest urban region in Canada. In fact, if you were to take Ottawa and lay it out geographically as I have here on this map, we fit Calgary, Edmonton, Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver all within our city boundary. We're a bit of a unique city. We're going to hit 1 million inhabitants in June of this year, but 82% of our landmass is rural. 90% of our population lives on about 12% of our geographic territory. So what you have is a very interesting mix of urban and rural. You have an interesting mix given our proximity to Quebec on the other side of the Ottawa River, between Anglophone and Francophone. And also a very diverse, welcoming environment for new Canadians, I think in large part because of our bilingualism and our seat as the head of the federal government. So as I mentioned, 1.3 million, about in our region, just about 1 million here in Ottawa, and then about 300,000 to 400,000 now located just across the Ottawa River in the city of Gatineau. We're also a relatively young city. Currently, we have a relatively low median age, as well as a very diverse city. 1 in 4 residents of Ottawa is an immigrant, and it's a population that's growing twice as fast as the rest of the sort of locally born population. So I think you're going to see a city that becomes more and more diverse over time. Approximately 53% of our new arrivals are from Asia and the Middle East, then 17% from Africa, and 15% from Europe, with the balance coming from elsewhere. And we have a number of diverse cultural hotspot neighborhoods, such as Little Italy and Chinatown, where you can experience culinary and other local business experiences from many of the expats in those communities. In terms of a placement, Ottawa is an excellent place to set up your business. We do a lot of attraction for folks looking to access markets. We have over 200 million people that are within a 2-hour flight from Ottawa. We have direct flights to major cities such as London, New York, Chicago, and Toronto. most importantly, I think, is our cost of living. And this is a big challenge in some of our major Canadian cities right across the country. Here we have a slide that shows some of the most expensive cities to live in the world. You can see Hong Kong, Tokyo, London, New York, Paris, all in the top 30. And then as we go further down, you'll even see some Canadian cities, Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, Calgary. Again, all much, much higher than Ottawa in terms of the affordability ranking. This is a global index. Here you can see Ottawa at 152. So making Ottawa one of the least expensive of the Canadian cities where you can choose to live. So how does that compare? Not just in terms of cost of living, but also in terms of unemployment and job opportunities. So you can see here we have the lowest unemployment rate of our close by major cities of Toronto and Montreal, also substantially lower than the Canadian average. We have a median household income that is actually higher than both Toronto and Montreal, and substantially higher than the Canadian average. And again, that's particularly potent because of the fact that our cost of living is so much lower. So you'll have a higher median wage, but you'll also have your dollars will go further. So it's a bit of a double benefit there. And you can see that by looking at the average house transaction prices, where we're substantially less than Toronto. We would be substantially less than Vancouver. Still slightly higher than Montreal, but again, substantially less than the Canadian average. Let's talk a little bit about why Ottawa. We're still trying to decide about a place where you want to live, not just a place to get a job. So, a strong economy. Ottawa has the number one most educated workforce in the world. We have the largest number of PhDs working in Ottawa. That's a big function of our research and development. We have a lot of federal government funding for a variety of research institutes. So we've developed the most educated workforce in the country. Over 63% of our labor force has a university or higher degree, and over 128,000, almost 129,000 have masters and PhDs. And if you're again thinking in the context of 1 million people total, that's including children and retired folks, that's nearly 13% of our total population having masters and PhDs, which is pretty impressive. Some of our top issues in Ottawa business. When we've done a survey of businesses here in Ottawa, both large and small, attracting skilled workers is the number one or number two issue that is second only to attracting more customers. So as you can imagine, this has been a key priority for us as a city, also for our partners in the provincial government, with the private sector, with our universities and colleges. We have a tremendous demand for employees here in Ottawa, as well as for entrepreneurs and people looking to start their own businesses. So the challenge for us is ensuring that we're developing that talent through our universities and attracting that talent from abroad to make sure that we can continue to feed that economic engine. So let's talk about our top 5 sectors. Ottawa, of course, being the nation's capital, public administration is the number one sector. That's primarily federal, but of course also municipal, where I'm employed. We also have a provincial presence here. We also have health and education, which is a huge sector for us. In fact, our healthcare sector and the companies within it, primarily around IT and healthcare, is our number 4 industry sector just on that piece of health tech alone. We have professional, scientific, and technical services at 11%, retail at 10%, and construction at 5%. These are our major employment drivers. So when we talk about public administration, just put a few more numbers on what I just was running through. We've got just about 275,000 federal employees that are active in our region. 275,000 employees, 41% of which are located here in Ottawa. So a huge percentage of our population is working in the government sector. Here with the city government, we have approximately 17,000 employees covering a variety of different fields. And we're looking at education in terms of sector growth. We have 9.9% growth over the past 2011 to 2016 5-year period, for which we have our most recent information. So that's 52 to 57,000. Healthcare and social assistance, very close second at 9.7%, going from 71 to 78. Retail trade up 9.2%. And professional, scientific, and technical services at respectable 6.3%. Talk about construction. There's a lot of construction going on in Ottawa. I mean, I've always said I've been at the city now nearly 10 years. This is an incredibly exciting time to be working at the municipality. As we hit our 1 million population milestone, there's a tremendous amount of construction development going on. We have a light rail transit system that's phase 1 is just about finished construction. Phase 2 construction is going to be commencing shortly. Combined, that's a $6 billion project. We have a tremendous amount of densification, intensification, condo development, roadway development, office development. So we're seeing tremendous growth, again, 11.3% from 2011 to 2016. It's the second largest percentage growth of sectors with more than 30,000 employees. And I'll just quickly run you through, I mentioned some of them there. I'll run you through a few more of our projects a little bit later on in the presentation. Let's talk about IT. Ottawa has the largest IT hub in Canada. We have over 1,700 knowledge-based companies located in Ottawa, primarily in the west end of our city as part of the Canada North Business Association. Of those, 1,430 of our high-tech companies have fewer than 50 employees. So this isn't a case where we have 2 or 3 major employers that are bottled up all of the jobs. We have an incredibly diverse ecosystem of a variety of different companies and a variety of different subsets of the IT sector. So lots of opportunity for highly specialized skill sets. I mentioned Canada North earlier. Let's talk about that. It's Canada's most vibrant and largest technology and research park. We have primarily economic impact around information and communications technology as well as software development. But we also have significant growth happening in our defense, security, and aerospace industries, life sciences, which I think I mentioned earlier when I was speaking about health tech, as well as environmental technologies in terms of clean tech. So when you look at our economic impact, that's over $13 billion in Canadian GDP located right here in Ottawa. We have growth in our tech and export sector, as well as a total number of jobs. There's life sciences, again, 156 million annually in research done at Ottawa's 10 different hospitals and companies, as well as 240 companies in the clean tech space looking at environmental issues with over 5,000 employees. And as we mentioned, the defense, security, and aerospace also a big growth opportunity. Over 190 companies implicated in that sector with more than 10,000 employees involved. Another big part about Ottawa is our media landscape. We have a number of digital media, film and television companies. We actually have a dedicated film liaison to make it easier for companies to come burden that they need to film. So most film here in the capital, generating over 50 million in economic impact for our city. And we have over 170 companies with more than 1,600 employees working in the sector. Talking about communications and technology, again, 250 companies in Contact, 21,000 employees, 560 software companies with 22,000 employees. You can see some pretty big names there as well. QNX, we have a tremendous autonomous vehicle research program here. The winter climate in Ottawa is particularly harsh, which makes it an excellent place to test out or winter test autonomous technology. Let's talk about the change in the job landscape. So when we look at 2015 to 2018, the 3 jobs that experienced the most growth were managers in transportation, machine operators and inspectors, electrical apparatus and manufacturing, as well as natural and applied science policy researchers and consultants and program officers. So you can see in the first column, we've added up a 3-year period, and you can see other cities where you'll have perhaps a greater number of jobs over the same period. But again, when you compare the hourly wages and the number of hours you would need to work to afford a home in those cities because of the gap in housing affordability, you can see that in a number of these job descriptions and areas, you'd have to work substantially less hours to afford the similar standard of living. So, for example, our policy researchers and consultants earn on average $40 an hour compared to $33 in Toronto and $32.50 in Vancouver. And again, looking at the housing prices, it's a doubling up of the affordability effect. Let's talk about our education system. We have a tremendous bilingual French and English education system here, where we have 4 school boards: English public, English Catholic, French public, French Catholic, and a number of private school systems. Schools in Ottawa provide a quality education. Test scores on average are higher than the provincial averages in the areas of reading, writing, and mathematics. And here, the Ontario government pays for public elementary and secondary education. So that's not a large cost for newcomers. If you have children and are looking to relocate to Ontario, particularly Ottawa, you can be assured that they would receive a quality education here. Looking ahead to our post-secondary level of education, we have 5 tremendous institutions: Carleton University, University of Ottawa, which is a bilingual institution, Algonquin College, La Cité Collégiale, a francophone college, as well as Willis College, combined with over 138,000 students. 20% of that 138K specializing in science, technology, engineering, and math. And we also have a number of private career colleges geared to offer unique and specialized skills training that meets the demands of our dynamic labor market. In a worldwide survey conducted in 2017, Ottawa came out as the #1 city chosen by students for the QS top universities. So let's talk about play, quality of life. It's important to not just have a job and get an education, but you need to be able to enjoy a balanced and fun lifestyle here in the nation's capital. So Ottawa was voted the #1 place to live in Mercer's ranking of top 20 cities for global quality of living in 2017. We placed #1 in Money Sense magazine's Best Place to Live in Canada, and was also voted the best place for new Canadians to live in 2016. Sorry. Zoom in, zoom out. Sorry about that. We're #3 for quality of living for large cities in North America, as well as enjoying one of the largest green spaces in our city. As I mentioned earlier, 80% of Ottawa's geography is rural, and that's given us the opportunity to create over 800 kilometers of bicycle paths, over 1,000 public parks, and over 200 square kilometers of protected green space. Ottawa's host to over 180 annual festivals. We also have 14 national museums and 32 different art galleries that you can avail yourself of. We have over 70 golf courses for those of you who enjoy golf, and we have over 50,000 registered youth soccer players in this city. So if you're into soccer, Ottawa is the place where you want to be. We have the top 5 whitewater rafting spots in the world. And while it is true that we do get a lot of snow during the winter, this gives us the opportunity to host 7 of the greatest downhill skiing resorts available in North America. We also have over 430 kilometers of cross-country ski trails. And we're home to the Rideau Canal, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and is used for pleasure boating through the summer. See a picture of that here right next to the Parliament buildings. In the winter, we're able to make use of the Rideau Canal, which is 7.8 kilometers long, making it the world's largest and longest naturally frozen skating rink. And we also have Canada's biggest water park, located just outside the city, which makes us a really friendly city for newcomers and locals alike. Getting back to business and the environment here, we've been voted the most business-friendly mid-sized city in North America. We're also ranked as the most sustainable city in Canada and the 3rd most sustainable city in North America. As I mentioned previously, we have hundreds of businesses from a variety of sectors that have chosen to settle in Ottawa. We have 83 Fortune 500 companies, including Shopify, Cisco, Ericsson, General Electric, Ford Motor, JP Morgan Chase, Apple, GM, Hewlett-Packard, Verizon, and IBM, to name just a few. And very soon, we will be playing host to Amazon as well. But despite all of these large companies, there are still over 240 million square feet of available business park land for development. So Ottawa's cost for commercial lease is substantially less than other major Canadian cities. What you can expect when you come to Ottawa is a welcoming city with diverse communities. We have an extensive network of settlement services that are there to support you in your job search, as well as to support those entrepreneurs who would seek to start a business here. You'll see the logo of Invest Ottawa at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. They're a separate agency from the city, but we work hand in glove with them on the tremendous work that they are doing to foster innovative new startups, as well as supporting larger, more established companies in securing the talent and the labor services that they need. So just a link here to a few resources that you can make yourself, avail yourself of. Ottawa.ca/jobs is the link to the City of Ottawa's job posting site. As I mentioned, we've got 17,000 employees. We're constantly looking for new folks. Ottawa is a city experiencing tremendous growth, so I expect that that's going to continue to be a vibrant opportunity to find new employment. We also have Ottawa.ca/immigration. That's our one-stop portal for folks looking for information about how to come to Ottawa and settle in Ottawa. And then lastly, we have the InvestOttawa.ca. I just talked about them in terms of the work that they're doing to help new entrepreneurs, as well as the Canada North BIA, which stands for Business Improvement Association. And they're, again, Canada's largest technology park located right here in Ottawa. I think they have hundreds of unfilled positions that they're constantly looking for people with tech skills and trying to place them with some of their tenant companies within the park. So Ottawa's awaits you. That concludes my presentation. We'd love to have you come to our city, whether to visit and experience some of the incredible green space and tourism-related industries that I was mentioning to you earlier, or to come in as a company and take a look at what Ottawa has to offer you from the perspective of our highly trained workforce, our diverse technology ecosystem, or our tremendous opportunity for commercial real estate development. So maybe I'll leave it there, Jay, and we can go to questions.
Absolutely, exactly. The conversation certainly continues, and thank you for such a concise and beautiful presentation. Ottawa is quite residential and like green space, a really beautiful place to live, also to work, play, invest, start a company.